On a world somewhere in the deep, a child looks up at night and sees only black. No scattered silver of a galaxy overhead, no slow wheel of constellations to name, not even a river of pale light to call a Milky Way. The sky above that world is not dark the way our sky is dark, pricked with 1,000 quiet fires. It is empty, a smooth, unbroken black from one horizon to the other, holding almost nothing at all. On that world, the dark is truly bare. Look up too long, and you might feel less like wonder than vertigo, as if leaning over the lip of something with no far side. For anyone born there, this emptiness is simply what the heavens are. Their poets would have no word for a falling star, their sailors no constellations to steer by. And when their thinkers finally asked how large the universe might be, the honest answer, drawn from everything the eye could gather, would be small, local, very nearly finished a short way overhead. A place like that is not a fantasy. Such a region exists right now, in the same universe that holds us, so wide and so bare that a mind born at its heart could be forgiven for believing the cosmos was nearly empty. We have found it, we study it, we speak of it with a certain quiet unease. The great nothing. To feel why that emptiness matters, you first have to see the shape of everything around it. Pull far enough back from any single galaxy, past the stars, past the clusters, and the universe resolves into one vast structure. Matter gathers into long bright filaments, threads of galaxies strung across the black like veins of light. Where those threads meet, great cities of galaxies burn, and held between them lie the hollows, the shadowed spaces where almost nothing lives. We call this the cosmic web, and the dark hollows have a name of their own: voids. They are not flaws in the design, they are part of it, the natural shadow left behind by the way gravity gathered the young universe into light and abandoned the spaces in between. Most voids are modest, quiet pockets set between the glowing walls, and no one loses sleep over them. And this emptiness is no far curiosity glimpsed at the distant rim of the observable universe. Its near edge is charted, and its heart sits roughly 700 million light-years from our own, close enough on the map of the cosmos to count as part of our neighborhood. We are not squinting at a rumor across the whole of creation. We are looking at a hollow just beyond the local shore. This void is anything but modest. It is among the largest empty regions ever found, a shadow so wide the mind slides off its edges. Light itself, crossing at about 186,000 miles per second, would need hundreds of millions of years just to travel from one side to the other. Our entire galaxy, with its few hundred billion suns, is a single grain of brightness against that dark. The web is full of shadows. This one is a chasm. For almost all of history, no one suspected it was there, because an absence casts no light of its own. The eye follows brightness, and the great nothing offers none. Finding it took a quiet change in the way we read the sky. The clue is buried in color. As the universe expands, it stretches the light of distant galaxies, sliding their color a touch toward red, and the farther a galaxy lies, the deeper that shift runs. Read the color, and you have the distance. Do it patiently, across thousands of galaxies, and something quietly astonishing happens. A flat scatter of points on the sky lifts into depth, the near and the far pulling apart, until a three-dimensional map of the heavens rises out of the flat black. There is something humbling in the method. We cannot travel to these places, cannot touch them, or send out a light of our own and wait for the echo. We can only gather the ancient light that happens to reach us, already old on arrival, and from its faint colors rebuild a universe most of which no longer looks the way we see it. Every map of the deep sky is a portrait of the past. When astronomers first built a map like that across one stretch of the northern sky, a strange feature surfaced in the data. In a single direction, the galaxies thinned, and then they simply stopped. Where the chart should have filled with light, a great rounded emptiness opened instead, hundreds of millions of light years deep, its far walls so distant, it felt less like a gap in the map and more like a missing chapter of the universe. They checked it and checked it again, half expecting a flaw in the survey, a blind spot in the instruments. The emptiness held. They had not found some new thing hanging in the sky. They had found the absence of nearly everything. across a volume wide enough to lose 1,000 galaxies inside without a trace. This is where the great nothing turns from strange to unsettling, because it is not truly empty. That is the part that unsettles the people who study it. A clean and perfect whole would be far easier to accept than what they actually found. A region that size, filled at the ordinary rate of the universe, should cradle thousands of galaxies, a slow drift of island worlds scattered through the dark. When astronomers counted what was really there, they came back with only a scattered few dozen. Nearly the entire expected population was simply gone, and no one could say where it had gone to. The few that remain make the silence stranger still. They do not fill the space evenly. Most of them trace one faint thread running through the middle of the void, as if a handful of survivors had drawn together along one road through an abandoned country and left the rest of the land dark. Everything about the place has the feeling of a great hall built to hold a crowd and standing silent. The lamps are lit, the seats are set. Almost no one came. That single thread of surviving galaxies is the strangest detail of all. It hints that the void did not merely fail to fill. It hints at a shape, a structure to the emptiness, as though the dark itself were arranged around some logic we have not yet learned to read. The few lights within offer no comfort. They only mark how much is missing around them. Sharper eyes were turned on the same stretch of sky in the years that followed, and the count scarcely changed. The emptiness was never a trick of early instruments. It was, and remains, simply the truth of that region, a space broad enough to hold our galaxy countless times over, filled with little more than silence and a thin trail of light. Stay with that for a moment, because the count is not the haunting part. The haunting part is what it might mean to be born inside it, to open your eyes for the first time beneath that empty sky and know nothing else. What would a place like that do to the minds that grew up under it, to their science, their stories, their sense of home? That question turns a distant curiosity into something strangely personal. Consider a civilization that rose on a world near the center of the great nothing, not a strange or lesser people. A people much like us, curious and restless, grinding lenses, building telescopes, asking the oldest question there is, what is out there? Their sky would hand them almost nothing to work with. A thin scattering of dim nearby stars, and past them, black. No neighboring galaxy hanging in the dark to hint at a wider world. No faint smear of distant light to make them wonder what lay beyond the edge. To them, the universe would seem a small and solitary thing, a few stars adrift in an endless night, and nothing further. They would build their entire understanding on that foundation. That science would describe a modest cosmos, and describe it beautifully. Every measurement in agreement, every observation confirming the emptiness around them. Their myths and their faith would take the shape of a sky that offered no company, where our own ancestors looked up into a blaze of stars and filled it with gods and heroes. This people would look up into near darkness and conclude, quite reasonably, that they were alone. Think of their long nights. No inherited tales of a sky river spilled across the dark. No astronomers shiver at the moment a neighboring galaxy first resolves in the lens. Their finest telescopes would reveal only more of the same emptiness, patiently confirmed across generation after generation. Their philosophers might come to treasure that solitude, might build whole ways of living around the belief that existence is rare and precious and very nearly alone in the night. Every word of it would be sincere and hard-earned and wrong in a way they could never uncover, and they would not be foolish to believe it, not with the evidence before them. That is the quiet cruelty of the place. The truth would be out there the entire time. Billions of galaxies burning just past their horizon, a universe beyond imagining in its fullness. Yet the light of all of it would be too faint and too far to ever cross the void and reach their telescopes. Their careful, honest, hard-won picture of everything would fall short of reality by an almost infinite margin, and they would have no way to ever know. The strangest thought of all is how narrowly we escaped being them. Set our own galaxy down in the middle of that void instead of where it floats now, and our discovery of the wider universe might have waited many generations longer. Our sense of home shrunk to a fraction of its real and staggering size. So what carves a wound this size into the fabric of the universe? The steadiest answer, the one most astronomers hold to, is calmer than the mystery seems to ask for, and it begins in the deep past. In the infant cosmos, matter was spread nearly perfectly smooth, marked only by the faintest unevenness, a little more here, a little less there. Gravity spent billions of years deepening those wrinkles, drawing the crowded regions tighter and bleeding the thin ones emptier, until the smooth beginning had been combed out into the web of light and shadow we see today. The voids are simply where that thinning cut deepest, where matter started sparse, few galaxies ever caught light, and the dark only widened as space went on stretching. None of this asks us to bend or break one law we know, worth saying plainly, because emptiness on such a scale invites wild stories. This vast hollow sits comfortably inside our best account of how the universe grew. The void is no crack in the theory, but the theory itself followed honestly to one of its lonelier conclusions. The Great Nothing most likely formed the way a wide lake grows from smaller ponds, several ordinary voids drifting together across cosmic time and merging into one enormous hollow. Beneath all of it runs the hand of dark matter, the unseen scaffolding whose gravity decides where galaxies are born at all. Where that hidden framework is thin, the visible universe stays dark. In the end, the void may be nothing more exotic than a place the scaffolding never filled. There are stranger whispers naturally, that something emptied the region on purpose. Some old and vast intelligence harvesting stars until a whole province of the sky fell dark. That unseen forms of matter are quietly hoarding the light. These ideas make for a beautiful unease, and honesty demands a plain word about them. There is no evidence for any of it, and no solid reason to believe it. The emptiness asks for no architect. The universe, left entirely to itself, is more than able to build a silence this vast on its own. There is one last thought about the Great Nothing, and it is the one that lingers longest once the screen goes dark. The emptiness may trouble us because it looks so much like a memory of the future. The universe is not merely expanding, its expansion is quickening, driven by something we can measure yet barely understand, a faint pressure woven into empty space that we name dark energy. Under its steady push, the distant galaxies are drifting away from us and from one another, a little faster with every passing age. Across spans of time that dwarf the entire life of the cosmos so far, they will slip past a threshold beyond which their light can never reach us again. This is not a fear for any life we could recognize. It plays out across tens of billions of years, stretches of time beside which our entire recorded history is less than a single heartbeat. No one now living, and no one for a vast lineage of ages to come, would ever witness the change. Yet the direction is already fixed, the slow dimming already underway. The cosmos is quietly closing, one distant light at a time. One after another, the far galaxies will redden, fade, and cross that horizon into permanent black. The great deep images, those glittering frames crowded with thousands of distant galaxies, will come to describe a sky that no longer exists. Far enough downstream in time, an astronomer in our own galaxy will look outward and see only nearby stars, wrapped in a wide and silent dark, with no visible sign that anything else was ever out there. Which is the truly haunting thing. The Great Nothing is no oddity sealed away from the rest of creation. It is a rehearsal. Every galaxy in the cosmos is drifting, in the long run, toward the same isolation that already fills that far hollow. Those future watchers, gazing into their own emptiness, would arrive at the same reasonable and mistaken belief as any people born inside the void, that the universe is small, that they are alone. The Great Nothing has simply arrived there ahead of everyone else. So the most disturbing thing about this place is not that it shatters some law of nature. Nothing here does. The Great Nothing fits our understanding of the universe without a single contradiction, quietly obedient to the same rules as everything else. What the void unsettles is closer to home than physics. It is our quiet certainty that we see the cosmos as it truly is. We read the whole sky from one small window in one particular corner of the cosmic web, and we take the view for the entirety of what exists. The Great Nothing is proof that the view depends completely on where a mind happens to stand. Shift that position, and the very same universe can look smaller, darker, and lonelier than it really is. In one place, a sky overflows with light. In another, a sky holds almost none. Both are gazing at the same cosmos. Only their address has changed. It is a strange humility the void asks of us. Not the fear that we have the laws wrong, but the quieter suspicion that we may have them right and still be seeing only a sliver, faithfully measured, of a whole we can never step far enough back to take in. Perhaps that is the real thing hidden inside all that darkness, that everything we believe about the universe is written from a single seat in a single theatre, and the show looks a little different from every other chair in the house. If this pull toward the vast and the hidden stays with you, you do not have to look across the universe to find it. There is a force much closer to home, moving in silence beneath our own ocean, a slow and invisible wave with the power to quietly reshape the weather of an entire planet. We followed it in our film on the monster wave that could change the planet.